So, today I'm going to tell, hopefully, one of many tales about a former friend that I will call Sophia Petrillo, not because she had the personality, but because she resembled her. And, okay. Anyway, I first met this woman many years ago. She was a neighbor and a friend of another woman that I was friends with at the time that was younger than me. And we did not become friends right away. We were just acquainted through the mutual acquaintance. And she seemed very nice. She was married. She seemed kind of nerdy, like a housewife, nerdy housewife type. Her husband seemed very devoted to her. She had two children. They were, younger at the time, much younger. This is many years ago. And she had bought a new house. Well, it was an older house, but it was new to her. And it was an old Victorian that she was like updating and everything. And her husband were really thrilled about it. So she consented to letting the other friend, I'll call her Marianne, to let Marianne bring me over to show the house. And I met the husband too, and they were showing me the various, the fireplaces. It was an old historical house. I mean, I didn't go through, maybe the bed. I basically saw the downstairs. It had, I think, 3 levels. Yeah, it was huge. And so anyway, I became acquainted with her, and back then everyone had AOL, so she was like on my buddy list, like for an occasional chat. Winters in upstate New York a lot of times are brutal, so people were in the house a lot, and back in the day, yeah, we used to chat on AOL. Um, so anyway, I just, we bumped into her every now and then at the mall or here or there, whatever. Then all of a sudden I hear she's getting a divorce, which shocked me because the husband seemed devoted. She's getting a divorce, and before she got the divorce, she lost a ton of weight, and she got contact lenses, and it looks like she kind of did a makeover, and I believe she got some plastic surgery, like a mommy makeover. And, she went from looking like a very homely housewife type to, an average, well-groomed, middle-aged woman. And I saw a picture of her because she immediately put herself on dating sites. So I had been, quote unquote, single for quite a few years at this point. And so, I would chat with her, and she would ask me maybe for a little advice about how to write an ad on a dating site or this or that, or she would message me and tell me her stories about different emails she got, or she was meeting someone for coffee or dinner or lunch or whatever. So then another day she suggested that we meet at a diner for coffee or breakfast. So I drove up there and we went, and she was just telling me about all of her dates and laughing. And I was looking at her, and she was allegedly about a year and a half older than me. And when I was sitting there looking at her, I thought of how much aged she looked. And I thought that maybe she had been lying about her age, to the point where when I got home I Googled her to find her birth date, and she was the age she stated. And when she was talking to me, I felt like she had like a delusion about what was going on the internet. And she said that she planned on being done in 2 years with dating. Like, in other words, that from that moment in 2 years in the future, she would be remarried, and she listed off all this criteria, that it would be a man who was younger than her, that was really handsome, very wealthy, that was a stud muffin in bed, that would love her children like her own and help pay for their college. And she went on and on with this list that, I think even Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie did not have. I mean, it was, it was just very, but, I didn't say anything, you know. So then after that, we gradually drifted into a friendship because her divorce was finalized and she wanted to go out with females, and she always would invite like a whole ton of women. And, back then I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go along. If it was doable, I did it. I was easygoing back then. So anyway, over the years, it evolved into a friendship where, we got to know each other better. Now, she was a stay-at-home mom. She was out on comp pretty much from the time she had her kids because she had an injury on her job. Well, that's what I was told. And she did have a huge scar on her knee, so I don't question that. But while she was doing that, I was working, okay? And for the most part, it was full-time. And I had a house to maintain, and I was raising 2 children. And I've mentioned before that my younger son, type 1 diabetes, at a very young age, insulin dependent, multiple daily injections. That was like a job in of itself. So anyway, this woman, though, was always finding places to go and things to do and inviting people along. And so I think I became like one of her regulars, because I was easygoing, and if I wasn't dating anyone or didn't have any plans, I would drag myself out. I was younger, I was more energetic back then, and maybe I had looser boundaries, whatever. So, and I trusted her because she seemed like a pillar of the community type. And so anyway, we had years of being friends, but like I was always busy, I was always tired, I was always burning the candle at both ends, whatever. And so it was the custom among the people that I were friends with that we would celebrate our birthdays, like we would, like I'll take you to dinner, or this place is having a show with a dinner, or this concert is, somewhat local, I'll treat, and, we would reciprocate for each other's birthdays. So, anyway, we would do that on a regular basis among all the people that I were friends with at the time. Now, I had a milestone birthday coming up after knowing her for at least 10 years. And I was working full-time on the other side of the river, and the dress code was casual, even though it was a business thing, because we worked remotely, and very rarely did our clients come in, physically to the location. So it was more casual than business casual. So anyway, my birthday that year, which was a milestone birthday, fell on a weekday. So that I was at work that day for my birthday, and she had suggested, let's go out to eat. I'll meet you after work. And I worked in New Windsor, New York, right near Newburgh, New York. And there were a lot of restaurants in Newburgh, a lot. A lot of shopping, a lot of restaurants. So she had picked, I believe it was Longhorn Steakhouse. She said, I'll treat. And she had a present for me. And so she said, yeah, I'm getting a little dressed up, so if you want to get dressed up too. So that day I put on pantyhose, high heels, a nice black A-line skirt. I remember I had a black print shirt. I fixed my hair and put on extra makeup. So I did extra fuss with the hair and the makeup, and I was all ready to go. And during the week, my coworkers, who were all married, there were like two owner slash bosses, 10 employees. We were all women. And out of everyone, the only single ones were myself and one other person. So they had been asking me like, oh, do you have any plans for your birthday? Or do you have a date or whatever? So I had told them, oh, so-and-so is going to meet me for dinner and treat me to dinner, the night of at Longhorn Steakhouse. So, I'm all dressed up. It was work, to get ready in the morning for work and all of that, and work all day and not gotta run in my pantyhose, blah, blah, blah. Walking around in the heels, blah, blah, blah. Now, let me back up a little bit. This woman told me that like that week or the week before, she put herself on a new dating site called Adult Friend Finder. It was sort of like a very risque dating site. I mean, come on, the title of it has a reputation. And she had told me that in the first week she had met at least 4 men. And I guess she had a dry spell prior to that, and she was going to town. That's all I'll say. She told me she was going to town. In fact, the day of my birthday, she went to Pennsylvania from New York, probably not too far from the border on 84, and met a younger man and engaged in extracurricular activities with him during the day because he worked mostly nights. She calls me at the office. Now let me backtrack again. I rarely got personal calls at the office. I didn't like it. I didn't feel it was professional. My coworkers were very catty and nosy and would eavesdrop. So I really very rarely got a call at the office. So when I got a call, they all listened. They would all stop what they were doing, and you could see their heads, their necks straining to eavesdrop. She calls me about maybe an hour and a half before the end of the day when I would have left to go meet her at the restaurant, and says, oh, are you tired from work today? Because, we could reschedule. I said, no, I'm all looking forward to it and ready to go. I'm all dressed up. Well, because, I'm in Pennsylvania right now, and I really would like to stay here and fool around more with him. And I was like in shock. She was trying to cancel on me last minute because she met a random stranger, younger guy, and she wanted to continue having relations. I'm using my words very carefully. And I was just like in shock. I was like, what is this, Samantha from Sex and the City, but meets Sophia Petrillo? And I thought to myself, you had promised this to me in advance and made a big stink about it, and I'm all dressed up. So I said, look, I can't twist your arm, but I'm here. I'm dressed up. I'm ready to go. I mean, you had suggested it, not me. So I'd really rather not reschedule. Oh, well, okay, I guess I could see him again at another time. I mean, I was just like in shock. And I think that was the first big red flag. But my coworkers were listening, and I felt really humiliated because I think they knew, like, kind of not the exact details, but that she was trying to back out. So anyway, we ended up going, and we had a nice time, but she was telling me all about this man that she had just met, and she was going into some details, and it was my birthday. But she handed me a nice gift. It was very useful and everything. And, I just wanted to make the best of it. That was the way I used to roll. Just take the best and leave the rest. People are human. I didn't have the boundaries back then that I certainly have now and that I should have back then. So, so anyway, later that night, my other friend, the one that passed away this 4th of July, Anita, called me up and said, oh, how did dinner go with, whatever, with, she said the name, the real name. And I said, oh, God. I said, you don't know what happened. And I told her the story. And she was like, what a bitch. See, they didn't know each other. I knew them from separate, but they like knew who each other were, but like they didn't really hang out together. It was just, So she was like, what a bitch. That woman is such a bitch. And she said, she brought up something that I hadn't thought of. She said, not only was it a slap on the face to you that you had made the plans and she was going to ditch you in the last minute, she said, think of it. Now, Anita was a little more street smart and a little more, I don't know how to say it without, I don't mean it in a bad way, but like a little more explicit. I'll use the word explicit than me. And Anita said, part of why she was telling you all of that was to rub it in your face. It's your birthday. You should be the one in bed with a younger man having fun. You should be the one, but it's your birthday and you went to work and then you're going to go to dinner. She was like saying that this other person, Sophia Petrillo, was doing all of this on purpose to mess with me. I hadn't realized it, but that Sophia Petrillo for years had a deep-seated jealousy of me. And it was Anita that started to point all of this out. And but back then I was dumb and I said, oh, no. I said, maybe there's some truth to what you're saying, but I don't think she orchestrated and then Anita said, no, think of it. And Anita then told me a story about how one year her birthday got ruined. That's a whole other story. So, Sophia Petrillo did many things over the years that I thought were heinous, but then I wasn't totally certain about, like, well, what's going on here? And, over the years, as I got more emotionally healthy and, became more standing up for myself, I felt at times embarrassed that I ever was friends with someone like that and took such treatment. And I was on a Panama Canal cruise. It was one of the first cruises that Carnival had after the virus. It was a 2-week cruise, and at certain times of the day, we went to a certain area of the ship on the Lido deck, and the same group of people were congregating there the same time of the day. So we all got to know each other over that period of 2 weeks. There were two sisters, Lorette and Catherine, and we just really hit it off from the beginning. And so I don't know how. Oh, I had a cruise story, too, about the Sophia Petrillo. And I think that's how it came up. And they kept asking me. They were fascinated with all these Sophia Petrillo stories. So then I told them the birthday story. And I said, it's embarrassing. And I said, you know what? I said, what bothers me is that I didn't really see her for who she was. And Catherine and Lorette said, so while you were friends with this person over a period of 10, 20 years, they said you were a single mom, you were raising your kids, one of them was a diabetic, it was a lot of extra work and stress and worry. You were trying to take care of a house, there were always expenses, you were always on a budget, you were going to work full time, you were trying to juggle a social life, you were trying dating, they said your mind was racing in a million directions at any given moment. Am I correct? And I was like, yeah, how did you know? They said, that's just the way it is. They said, you were so busy with everything that you didn't have the time to sit and reflect on people around you and what was going on and their motivations or this or that or whatever. And they said, now that you're not working, you can reflect on things and you've noticed things. And they were right. And Catherine and Lorette, if you're out there, thank you. You were like free therapy. So anyway, The way someone treats you on your birthday speaks volumes, and I mean volumes, about their character. If they're a friend or someone close to you and they do not treat your birthday as something special, they're really not your friend. So everyone, have a great day. I know I will. Bye.